Council, my name is Harry Zalvis. I'm a citizen of Glendale. Earlier, I made a prima facie case that given GWP's supply of electrical power for the traffic and street lights of the city free of charge, and given that approximately $21 million of electrical fees are transferred to support general services, given those things under Article 13C of the state constitution, any change in electrical rates must be put to a vote of the people. I understand that the city attorney is preparing a formal legal memo on this issue for the council. And I also understand that whether that memorandum is made public is up to the council. So last week, I asked if the council would direct the city attorney to make that legal memorandum available to the public. After all, it's the public that's paying for it, at the same time that it's made available to the city council. That certainly would go a long way to reassure the public of transparency and would provide for an informed public that would have ample time to absorb and study the opinion. I received no answer. Last week, I read from the charter that electrical fees in the Glendale Water and Power Surplus Fund are transferable to the General Reserve Fund, where they serve as a revolving line of credit for other funds pending the collection of taxes. The charter also states that they are not credited to the general budget fund that supports general services. The charter also conflicts with the city's practice of making the transfer of electric fees a budget item. I prepared a flow chart with attached relevant provisions from the charter, which I'm preparing as an exhibit for a much larger document that I'm slowly working on. I don't type, I'm computer illiterate, and so I have to depend on others. I say this to explain why what I will give you is a handwritten flow chart, but the charter provisions along with my comments are typed. Last week I asked if the city would tell us how it justifies using electrical fees for general services given these charter provisions. Again, silence. When I've come before this council, I've come as a serious and concerned citizen. I've endeavored to focus on issues and to stay away from personalities. I've tried to be careful in my assertions and rational in my arguments. So I do not apologize for saying that I, and for that matter the public, have a right to expect from you who are here to serve us better treatment than being ignored. Now, having said that, I've got to publicly say to Ms. Friedman that while she was sitting as mayor, in contrast, she was, in fact, responsive to questions that I raised. And finally, let me say, as I said last week, I am available to anybody, be they part of government or outside of government, to walk them through both the charter and Article 13C of the state constitution, which is the basis for the questions I've raised.
Real estate. And as far as Mr. Zalvis, I I hope that I have been upfront and responding to some of your issues, and I don't have a problem releasing the information that the attorneys are going to be paid by public funds to give an opinion on the city's charter. I don't have an issue, but I do reserve the right that in case there is something that could be, and I can't foresee anything that could be detrimental, but if there is anything that could be detrimental to this community, I do reserve the right to say, well, maybe this would harm the community and should not be released. But in general, I do agree with you that any opinions, especially as it relates to the issues that you're bringing up, because that is why we're getting an opinion, in my opinion, I think it should be released, and the public should know, well, whether to the good or not to the good. So I'm in favor of that, but you are going to need 3 council members. I can't do it alone. You're going to need 3 council members to agree with that, to release that information. And hopefully you don't feel that I have been ignoring it. So.
Well, the issue on releasing opinions that we pay for is there may be potential litigation. So I would hate to pay fees, have our opinions, then given to a possible opponent or someone that's going to sue the city. Mr. Najarian?
I would repeat that, and surely Mr. Zavos understands the protections of the attorney-client privilege, and there are certainly instances where it would be inappropriate for one group, party, body to release information regardless of who paid for it.
I'll leave it at that at this point.
Sure. First, just to Mr. Zavos, you are always professional. You are always respectful. I appreciate that. I pay a lot of attention to the information that you bring forward, but I don't want you to think you've been ignored just because we can't respond here, and we can't. We can't have a debate over the issue that's not on the agenda, and I think you know that. But I can tell you that in the 3 years that I've been here, I don't think that I've ever seen the legal department spend as much time analyzing a speaker's concerns as they have with yours. So I hope that you don't think that you've been ignored. You've got a lot of our best legal minds spending a lot of time analyzing the arguments that you've brought forward. And we're just now beginning to see the results of that and kind of going through that and deciding, you know, what it means and what's going to happen. And so by no means are you being ignored. There's been a lot of discussion and attention given to what you've brought forward.